You're listening to the Road to Wisdom podcast, weaving stories told by wonderful minds about all things motherhood, health, intimacy, politics, nature, and everything in between.
Join us on an adventure discovering unique experiences that we can learn from to enhance the ways in which we live.
We are your hosts, Chloe
and Keshia. Hi guys, welcome to the Road to Wisdom podcast. Today we are going to discuss my birth stories. This is going to be our second take recording this because it was probably one of our first recordings initially and it was very long. Lots of boring spots in there.
But also an incredibly intense conversation for you, and one that you ultimately weren't comfortable releasing because there's so much in there.
There was a lot in there.
Yeah.
So something we've been talking about for a while.
Literally for 6 months.
So
longer.
Oh, this will have an explicit warning on it too. So
we're going to talk about the birth of your
Willow.
number one.
Yeah.
And if we can, roll into number two because they're kind of like together in the same.
Yeah. Well, they were very close.
They were a bit close.
They were very close. I'll probably briefly go over Willow's and then we'll get into Humphrey's, which is a little bit more intense and I guess a bit more story to it, I would imagine.
More juicy.
Bit more juicy.
Okay, so with Willow, your number one, was she planned?
She was.
Okay.
So we and cool that I'm mentioning it now because we're actually in the midst of trying to get someone on to talk about the contraceptive pill. But
how not to get pregnant?
How not to get pregnant. No, but I was on the oral contraceptive pill, and for the last year that I was on it, I didn't bleed, and I've never skipped the bleeding part. So the bleeding part,
a disclaimer, we are a little rusty today, but we are going to make it through the end, I promise. We're going to get there.
My words aren't wording. The breakthrough bleed. And I was talking to Togger about it, and I was just like, because he, within the first couple of weeks of us dating, was like, I want kids. I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'll consider that. Cut to like 5 years later. I was like, look, I haven't bled for a year on the pill. I'm like, I'm actually really worried that it might make me infertile. I didn't have any information at this point and didn't think, I didn't really know anything, but I guess just gut intuition. I was like, if I'm not having a breakthrough bleed, well, I'm not having a period, and that's...
So you may not be able to get pregnant.
May not be able to get pregnant. So I was like, look, I think I need to go off the pill. But then obviously going off the pill can lead to...
Baby.
Yeah. So I think I was 25 when I went off the pill. And it took a little while to get my period back.
Did you have to do anything specifically, or did you just kind of like let things go by itself?
Mate, I was young, dumb, and...
Yeah.
I won't finish that.
Yeah.
I did not give a...
Yeah, okay, right. So you're just like quite unaware.
I was, completely oblivious. And I had we weren't even eating... I still ate dairy milk chocolate at that stage.
What's wrong with that? You mean Cadbury?
Cadbury, yeah.
Cadbury.
Just
like a Cadbury from time to time.
Dude, I haven't touched that shit since my pregnancy with Willow.
Oh my God. Well, Halloween was just the other week, and so
So we and once I got my periods back, I think it took about 9 months of us actively trying.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
so how was the pregnancy? Like once you found out that you were pregnant, how were you? How was it for you?
I was very disconnected from my body, and this is, you're going to glaze over because you've totally heard this shit before.
I'll pretend like I haven't.
Actually, people, you've probably heard like scatterings here and there. But I was super disconnected from my body. So when I peed on a stick and had that adrenaline rush and threw the pee stick at Togger's head and cried and cried and cried. And he got me a book, Up the Duff, which disassociates. Blech.
Not recommended by us to read.
Disassociates you from your body even more. I was just like, I think it was 6 weeks into it, and I was like, oh, I'm feeling really queasy. And Togger was like, God, you're full of shit. And I was like, no, I'm actually feeling not so great. That was the next 10 weeks. Oh yeah. And with a little bit of research, I then realized that morning sickness actually comes on quite quickly. So yeah. Anyway, I thought I'd do some research. So I watched Knocked Up.
Or Juno.
What to expect when you're expecting, and Juno.
You really?
Yeah. That was my full
quality
research.
Education. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so I felt really prepared for pregnancy and birth after that.
That's hilarious.
I know. I didn't want to do any research because my mum is the only one who had talked to me about birth, and for her it was not something nice or pleasant, or she was like, just take the drugs, don't be a hero kind of situation. So I was like, well, I don't want to hear about that. I don't want to hear horror stories. I'm like, I have to go through birth. It's like a really big and at the time scary part of it. But I'm like, I don't want to think about it. I'm pregnant. My body will do it. I'm just going to cruise along.
Wing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm like, I know that I don't. I've always had a bit of an aversion to hospitals and drugs and pain relief. Like most of the dental work I've ever had done on in my mouth has been with zero anesthesia or pain relief, because I just hate that feeling. So yeah, that was our.
Wow. Okay. So you got all the scans, all the tests, all the things through your pregnancy.
Multiple. So I have a vaccine injury, which has left me with an autoimmune condition. So there was that added.
Okay, because you had that, they
factor.
Said that you were high risk, yeah?
Yeah, straight away slot into that high risk category. So I had 2 obstetricians. I went private obstetricians, one on the Gold Coast and one in Melbourne. The one in Melbourne is actually the obstetrician that delivered me and my sibling. So that was interesting. But he was super chill. He has 5 kids. He does really trust birth, and he's very much like what the woman wants. And I mean, I was talking to my obstetrician on the Gold Coast, who I'd walk into her office, and behind the reception desk, it was all pictures of her in scrubs with lights on bellies and a baby upside down.
What?
Yeah.
So all C-section vibes.
All C-section vibes.
In theatre vibes.
Nothing was clicking for me, right?
Oh, I won't have a birth like that.
Yeah, no, but I didn't even I looked at it and I'm like, oh, baby's being delivered. It never even but she was like, no, you need to be induced at 38 weeks. And I was like, oh, I just kind of heard that induction can lead to increase your chances of a C-section. She's like, it's just too dangerous for you to go further than that.
What was the rationale?
There is a study, one, with a very small cohort of patients, or what is it? Help me word find.
Subjects,
that's it. Who had a very, very slightly increased chance of stillbirth. So that was plastered onto me, and that's the rationale for a 38-week induction. Got it. Yeah. So my obstetrician down in Melbourne was like, if you're happy and healthy and the baby's happy and healthy, we just keep going. And I was like, oh, I like that answer better.
That's less
We're going to
scary.
have a baby in Melbourne. The reason for those 2 as well was because we were working a lot between Gold Coast and Melbourne, so we didn't know where we were going to be for the birth originally.
Yeah.
So come to, I think I was like 36 weeks, and we drove down to Melbourne and started nesting at my parents' place.
Love that.
All the vibes. And at 39 weeks and 2 days, went to a Latin street festival with my mum and dad and Togger.
Yeehaw.
Togger thought he'd have a couple of beers. Me and my mum were like Latin dancing and eating all this fancy food, and then we went out for a big bougie dinner. Got home at 10:30, jumped into bed and thought I pissed my pants as soon as I laid down. I was like, oh
my God, sorry.
Oh shit. And having read up the duff, pissing your pants was like one of the common symptoms of pregnancy. So I was like, oh shit, lost. I've become incontinent. It's happened. It's happened.
Oh my God.
So I like ran to the bathroom and I'm just like leaking out fluid, and I was like,
this ain't me.
Yeah. I thought it was. I just had no
control over the wee though.
Yeah. And I was just like, what? So I was just sitting on the toilet, and I'm like, when is this gonna stop? I need to stop weeing. And then then it kind of clicked, and I started getting like the adrenaline shakes. And I was like, oh, maybe it's not. And like I kind of felt under there and realized it was not wee. I was like, oh my God. And so I went back into the bedroom like, Tugger, I think my waters are broken. He's like, are you sure? And I'm like, I'm pretty sure. I'm just like leaking fluid. And he was like, oh my God. So I called the hospital. Oh, really quickly before I get into that, we had done the hospital education, like childbirth education program. It's like a 2-day thing. And we were the youngest couple in there by about 10 years.
Oh my God.
I was 27. And everyone was just asking about the pain relief and the cocktail of drugs you can take to like numb out. Rhea Dempsey's episode is releasing before this comes out, so
refer to it.
Yeah. But yeah, that was like the main questions and education
so
that we
wanted to know.
Yeah. And I was just like, I don't want drugs. Like I really don't. I don't want to not be able to move. I don't want to have options taken away from me. Yeah. So our thing was like, okay, well, what do we do if we don't want them? And they're like, okay. There was like a really brief like,
you can come into this room. You may leave now.
But it was like a super brief like, well, you don't want to be induced. You don't want to like some of these things, these will lead to needing pain relief and all of this stuff. And it was very, very brief, but no one else was interested in that. So they kept it. I know, kept it real short. Anyway, then cut back to where Togger's calling the hospital because they're like, as soon as you think your waters are break or you're in labour, give us a call. And Togger calls them and it's like, so we think that Keshia's waters are broken. And they're like, okay, you need to come in immediately. We need to check. We need to check. And I was like, okay. We'll bring the bag.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
I love this.
Not even in labour. We'll get in the car, go in. They stick me on a monitor and they're like, this is my favourite line. They're like, oh my gosh, can you see how like there's a like little spike every 5 minutes? And I'm like, yeah, I can see that. They're like, can you feel that? And I'm like, no, not really. They're like, they're your contractions and you're having contractions every 5 minutes. And I looked at Doc and I'm like, bitches scream about this.
I'm just going to have a pain-free birth, straight up.
Yeah, and then the nurse was like, oh, you're going to be one of those quiet ones, aren't you? And I was just like,
I'm a
probably.
good girl.
Anyway, then another not quite so
how many hours later?
happy
like
nurse
what was
came
the
in.
start? Like what was the time frame?
Well, we were in the hospital from about 11 p.m.
Yeah.
And then they checked the pad that I was wearing. They're like, yep, your waters are broken. So we're really excited. And then like, okay, and now we're just going to wait until you're in labour and then you can transfer into like the birthing suite. And I'm like, oh, I'm not staying here. And they're like, yeah, you are. And I'm like, no, I'm like, I can't even feel anything yet. This could be a really long time. Like, I don't want to stay here. And they're like, okay, get the head nurse to come in. And she's like telling me all of the things like my baby's going to die, my baby's going to die, my baby's going to die.
For
I'm
what?
going to die.
Not wanting to labour in the hospital?
Yeah. If you leave. Yeah. So we had to sign, and then like Togger kind of jumped in. He was actually really good. He was like, okay, well, how often would you check the baby and Keshia? And I'm like, probably every 3 hours. And he's like, all right, so we'll just go home for 3 hours. We'll come back. We'll just do that every 3 hours. And she was like, oh, you're going to have to sign this waiver. So we had to sign a waiver, basically signing our lives away if we all died. That was our own problem. It wasn't on the hospital. And we left. And I laboured. I didn't. I wasn't in labour, but I'm like at home, like on the ball.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Right. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, oh yeah. Got like music going. I was like, yeah. Like this baby's coming. And it got to, I think we stayed home until about 5 in the morning. And we went, maybe 5:36, and we got back into the hospital, and I had started getting like mild contractions at that stage. And we got into the hospital and they chucked a monitor on my belly, and we both fell asleep on the hospital, on this tiny like little hospital bed. I know. And I think I had 2 contractions while I was there. And at 8 o'clock in the morning, my obstetrician walks in and he's like, go home, don't come back until it's like 2 to 3 minutes apart. I was like, okay. So head back home. As soon as I'm home, it's like on every 7 minutes, every 5 minutes. Yeah. Like, yeah, until about, it was probably midday again. And I know it's like 2 to 3 minutes apart, and they were intense. And I'm like, hit rolly, like, you know, I'd be on the back of the couch like, when we get back in the car. And that was they're the worst. That car ride's the fucking worst. When you're in labour and you're like cramping and
down
shit
in the car.
Oh, dude. Yeah, but you had like a quick freaking labour.
Yeah, it was super quick. But I remember the feeling of just being like, I'm going to be that person who gives birth on the M1. And I'm going to transfer in a freaking ambulance.
Dude, I was like in the car and I couldn't sit on my ass. Yeah. And like I only had 2 contractions. It's like a 15-minute drive from my mum's to the hospital, and I had 2 contractions.
How's the chickens just telling us their birth?
Oh, no, right?
Sorry, everyone. If anyone can hear that, it's just the chickens laying a couple of eggs.
Good old early morning recording. Yeah, so that was pretty intense. And then got to the hospital and I went straight to the birthing site. I think I had a couple of contractions in the elevator, and Toggle went to park while I was going up. And this guy was in the elevator with me. Oh. And like, I can't tell you how tiny my belly was. Like I was, no, if you can see me, like right now I'm about 18 weeks pregnant, and actually I feel pretty tiny at the moment, but I was very compact. So with an oversized jumper on, you wouldn't know. Yeah. And I was like in the elevator. Like, I was like, this guy is just like, get me off this fucking elevator. And I get up to the birthing suite and they chuck me like in the actual birthing suite. I think they didn't realise I was going to be in there for like 7 hours.
Oh my gosh. Were you in there for another 7 hours?
7 hours.
Okay, so at this point it's like 24 hours nearly.
No, at this point, so it was from 10:30 p.m.
Yeah.
And so it'd been about 14.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
So yeah, got in there and there was this nurse that straight away like came up to me and just did one of those squeezes on my hips. I don't know what it's called, but I was like during a contraction, I was like, oh my God, that was like infinite pain relief. And she did it like once and then twice, and then she was like, okay, I'm clocking off now.
I'll pay you.
I'm like, please don't clock, I'll get you to do that more. But yeah, she went, and then it was another really lovely nurse that was like my I don't know, solid person for the rest of the time. But she was quite new, and she's like, oh, I've had babies before, but like she didn't have the fucking techniques. Yeah. So it's like we spent the rest of the time like in and out of the bathroom. They didn't have a pool, so we were just like in the shower, and I'd like be bouncing on a ball between contractions, and then like when I was having a contraction, I'd be like smashing my head on the side, like trying to remove the pain from my back and my front. And I was posterior labouring. So between contractions, pain in the back, during a contraction, pain in the front. And Togger, I was like barking at Togger, who was like in his knickers in the shower, like putting hot water on my stomach, then on my back, then on my stomach, then on my back. Yeah. I can kind of relate to Kim's like exorcism vibes. Yeah. It's like smashing my head on the shower wall. And yeah, and like we kind of continued that for a bit. We did like some of the dance stuff, but I was like at this stage was not that silent birthing woman that they and cut to like what, maybe 3 or 4 hours before she was born, I was like shaking on the back of a, like, I guess if the hospital bed like head is up. Yeah. So I was on my knees and leaning on that and like going through my head, I was just like, I'm dying. Like I'm going to die. Like this is me dying. And I was like, I wonder what Tugger's going to name this baby. Like really like
it was hot,
like
pitiful, intense.
Yeah. And my whole body was shaking. I was just like, can someone just tell me that something is wrong and flip me over and cut this thing out? Like I'm done. I was like so cooked. And
obviously you were super close when you have that thought.
Yeah.
But at the time you don't know.
No. And
you do not know.
But what I really appreciated at the hospital, like I got one VE and I can't remember when that was, but they told me I was 4 centimeters dilated. It was the most excruciating thing I've ever felt in my entire life. They did it between contractions and I was still just like, get the fuck out of me. Vaginal examination.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Not up to date with the hospital terminology.
Dude, come on.
I've got to give birth in hospitals more.
Yeah.
Okay. And so what do they do? Like, do they put their fingers in and
and just like measure the circumference of your
I don't think I've ever had one.
Cervix. A cervical check. It's a cervical check. Yeah. We have the terminology. No, it's the one and only I've ever had.
Wow.
And it was so excruciatingly painful. I was just like, never do that again.
Don't touch me again.
Yeah. I could I almost vomited. Like it was really, really bad. Way worse than like
really intrusive and like
no, it was awful,
inappropriate.
And also like there's obviously a plethora of studies now that show that they're completely inaccurate and don't predict anything. But yeah, it's still like
they still do it,
hospital procedure. But look, they asked me and I actually asked for it. Yeah. Like I wanted it because I wanted to know where I was at. But that was like
and
deflating.
Was this at the part where you thought that you were literally dying and you're only 4 centimeters?
Yeah. So like they told me I was 4 centimeters. Like, oh fuck, I'm dying. I'm just gonna die.
And
now.
I have when they say you got 4 centimeters, you're like, I have so long to go to get to the 10.
Yeah, exactly. And it was the worst. Anyway, so I think I was hanging off the back of bed for a couple of hours, and all of a sudden my whole body just shot backwards. And I was just like, the fuck was that? And I looked up at the nurse and the nurse was like, oh, darling, I think you're ready to push. And she didn't fucking know. But like, in my head, I was like, oh my God, I'm there. I'm at the end. Yeah. This is the finish line. Pushed for 45 minutes. Yeah. Tried like so many different positions. I was like squatting on the ground. We had a few things and you do already know this, but in the in education sessions, they're like, you can have a mirror to like look and see. And I like remember turning to Togger and be like, don't you dare fucking bring a mirror down. Like I do not want to know what's going down. I want to be completely oblivious. Yeah. And then like other things like, Dad loved cutting the cords. And he's just like, I don't want to do that. I'm like, you don't have to do that. And then the other one was like, like dads can get really involved and like be down there, and Tog's like, I'm just going to stay at your head. I was like, yeah, can you not? I don't want you to see what's going on down there. I don't want to see what's going on. Like, we're just going to, anyway, when I'm pushing, they're like, do you want a mirror? I'm like, yes, I want a fucking mirror. To bring me the mirror. And I'm like squatting over a mirror, like trying to push.
Like, Togger, look at this.
Yeah. Can you see what's happening right now? And then like, I ended up pushing on my back. The best position to push.
Oh my God.
Makes it real easy.
That was sarcastic, by the way. If you're pregnant and you're about to give birth to your first baby, that's not correct.
It's like the worst. It like closes your hips. It's awful. Anyway, Togger was like, I'll he was like holding my leg. He had like full view. Then she started crowning and they're like, oh, do you want to feel your baby's head? He's like, yes. Like patting Willow's hair as she's coming out. And I'm just like, and then they told me, like they were coaching me to push. Yeah. They told me to hold my breath and that's going to help. So I'm holding my breath and I can feel my eyes like popping out of my head. I had like bloodshot eyes for 2 weeks. Like completely, like I looked like a Halloween.
Yeah, I got the vision.
Yeah, it was awful. But yeah, anyway, after 45 minutes of pushing, it was a lot of pushes, she was out. Wow. And like as her shoulders came out, like that's when my obstetrician walked in. Oh, nice timing. And he's like, reach down, get your baby. So like I reached down and like pulled her up and went to put her on my chest, and the nurse that had been with me like ripped my t-shirt off my chest so she landed straight on my skin. And that was pretty cool. And then they did their thing, and I think they waited like a whole 2 minutes before getting Togger to cut the cord, and he was like real into it.
Oh my God.
So yeah, the birth process changed a bit. And then I got that like an hour with her. After that, they were like, oh, do you want to go have a shower? And I was like, if that's what people do, I guess I'll go have a shower. So Togger took his shirt off and had skin to skin with her, and I went and had a shower. Like, I can't believe like the clots that just like fall out of you. It's awful.
And you're just like shaking and you feel like an actual shell of a human being. It's just so... I'm just feeling so dizzy and just like lightheaded and just not with it. Like you shouldn't be standing up having a shower. I feel like
it was probably a little too soon. I did get really lightheaded actually and went pale. And one of the nurses was like, oh, are you okay? And they thought that maybe it had something to do with my autoimmune stuff. Yeah. And I was like, no, I'm fine. Anyway, I recovered fairly quickly. Yeah. But then after I'd had my shower, one of the nurses took Willow and weighed her, and they did all the measurements and all this stuff, and me and Togg were just standing over her like, give us back our baby. And then they put her straight into a onesie and then handed her back to us, and we're like, oh, thanks. And then we got to the room. We got to the room and they're like, okay, now your baby needs to, by the way, she'd latched on already and like been feeding and stuff. And they're like, okay, now she needs to come to the special kids unit. And I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, we need to take her into like, she needs to have bottle feeds for the first 8 hours. Yeah.
Of formula?
Yeah, a formula.
I don't think I knew this. Why?
Because of my
your thing.
Yeah. So they were like, her blood glucose levels they were borderline. Yeah. And and then like, so she needs, and it's too much effort or work of effort or whatever it's called, to feed. Energy. Yeah. So they're burning more energy getting colostrum out of your nipple than the energy they're receiving. Yeah. And they're like, we don't want her blood glucose going too low, so she needs to have formula. It's easier for them to get, and obviously it's just sugar gloop. So it'll spike her blood glucose back up. And I was like, hang on, I didn't know that. And they're like, yeah, well, if you had any expressed milk, we could give her that. And I'm like, well, no one told me that. And I'm like, well, can you feed her in the room? Like, and I was getting really upset about it. They're like, honey, you need a rest. Like, you go.
Fuck off.
They're like, you're going to have the rest of your life. You're not sleeping and you've not slept. And like, you need, like, use this time to rest. And I was like, this was like 10 o'clock at night or whatever, 11 o'clock at night. And my parents were in the room and I was like getting really emotional, but at the same time was fucking exhausted. Yeah. Like I was cooked. Anyway, so they won that battle and took her into another room and I made them wake me up for the feeds. I'm like, I'm giving her that bottle at least, but I wasn't allowed to stay in the room. Yeah. So we were in separate rooms for the first 8 hours.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. And I, like everything about it felt wrong, but I didn't know how to advocate for it. Like I didn't know what to do. And there were 10 babies in that room. Like there was a lot of babies in that room. And I remember the first time walking into it after I think I'd slept for maybe 2 hours. And I was like, I don't know which one of these babies is mine. I was like, how am I meant to know which one of these babies is mine? And they brought me over.
By the way,
if
Willow listens to this in the future, she's going to use this against you and be like, you probably did take the wrong baby.
Well, we questioned her for a little bit because she's blue-eyed and like blonde hair.
But looks exactly like you and all your other babies.
Yeah. So once we had Humphrey, I was like, oh, this is more a confirmation. It took that long.
Oh my God. I'm interested though. Did you see other parents with their baby?
No.
Like there was never anybody else in the room?
No. Oh, no, there was one woman who was struggling to learn how to breastfeed.
Yeah. Okay.
And she needed space, and that's why I couldn't be in there.
Right. Okay.
So I was like, anyway, I don't know. I didn't know how to fight it. I didn't know what I should be feeling.
Wrong, but you just don't know because you've never been in that. And no one's advocating for you.
Yeah, I didn't want to be that crazy bitch in the hospital, even though I totally was a crazy bitch in the hospital.
And you got there in the end after this. Yeah. Well, yeah, no, it's interesting because like I've obviously had a baby in a hospital before and like in that type of environment where it's like NICU. And it's like you never see another parent there. And I've always wondered like what's up with, like why aren't parents like at the room or like waiting at the door?
They're all
like,
resting after their C-sections in my case.
and well, I mean, I realize also that some of those babies have been in there for like months and months and months. And at like some point you've got other kids and stuff like that. But I always was like the only parent in there. And I always wondered if they were just like told to rest or go or like you don't need to be here and your baby's fine. You just don't worry about it.
In my case, it was just a special care unit. So it wasn't like NICU. Yeah. They're like none of the babies needed like extra support or anything. They were literally just all sleeping next to each other in those fucking like you see in the movies. Yeah. And because my education was those 3 movies, and
this is totally normal. You know,
I'm like, well, they go and they look in their babies and then like behind the glass, like they don't even touch them, like they're, you know. So I was like, it was definitely like a bit of programming there that I just, but at the same time, I'm like, but this baby's been inside me for 9 months.
It feels really wrong.
It felt so wrong to be apart from her. But then it's like, oh, but that's normal. And so I gaslit myself. Like it was, and we just made it normal and then we just forgot about it. Like at the end of that 8 hours, she was in the room with us and in the, they brought her in a fucking little wheelie thing and I took her out straight away and put her on my chest and we fell asleep. And that was actually our announcement photo. Togga took a photo of her asleep on my chest, which is so not allowed at this hospital too. But like the nurses would come in and then they just walk out. Like they would not say anything. So, and then she slept in the bed on my chest for the rest of the time. Like she never went back in that little wheelie thing. Yeah. And we were there for I think 4 nights. Yeah. So, I was the unicorn bloody pregnancy woman because I was the only natural unassisted, no drug birth at that time. A lot of nurses hadn't seen that before and I didn't tear, which like I had midwives and nurses and coming in like, oh my God, like asking me questions like, oh my God,
I've never seen this before.
Yeah.
Really?
Because the private hospital that I chosen to go to was in an area of like there's a little slogan that's like too posh to push. So it was, and I didn't realize that. Like I didn't realize I was walking into that situation. So when I learned all of this information afterwards, I was like, I fucking did well. Yeah. Because like the number of our friends who were also uneducated going into their first births, who ended up with emergency C-sections or inductions that led to emergency C-sections, it was, it's full on. So having learnt that, I was like, nailed it.
Pat on the back.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really remarkable really because most people do. They will step foot in that environment and, even though they feel empowered, they're like, yes, I'm going to do this. They might have done hypnobirthing and they might have done like a whole bunch of stuff. You can't really like, there's a lot of like intervention, but it's subtle and it leads to the next thing and it leads to the next thing and then next thing, you're like, it just had to happen. But
and with the amount of monitoring I got and with the, constant reminder of being high risk, like to have not had like, and, at this hospital, which I was really fortunate for, they didn't test for GBS. Yeah. So there's no antibiotics. They didn't offer a drip. I was never offered drugs because I was like, I don't want them. but obviously I was begging for it towards the end. Inside, like internally, I couldn't actually speak, and I wish I could have spoken because I was begging for an epidural. Yeah, if someone had offered it to me in that stage, I would have been like, fucking, I like just whatever. I just want to go to sleep. Like I don't want this anymore. So I was really lucky. Like I really, really lucked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And then on the way out of, and after that whole situation, we were in the car. We left like a few days later.
Let's do that again.
I was like, I need to have 5 babies, which is fucking like typical. I said 5. I was like to Togga. I was like, I was next to her in a little seat and I was looking at her and I'm like, Togga, we're going to do this 5 times. And he was just like, no. I'm like, I know, no. But
also yes. You just don't know it yet.
And I can't believe, like now looking at that and the situation I'm in, I can't believe that was the number and that's where we're at right now.
I feel like that's what all women say, like not the I'm going to have 5 babies part, because let's be honest, only you and I say that. But
wasn't
you go through
when
hell.
I said it,
you actually go through hell and you feel like you're never going to get out of it. But as soon as it's over, you're like, let's do that again.
Yeah.
I can't wait to do that again. And it's the weirdest thing because it's hell. You're like,
and just how
being
perfect,
engulfed.
like
it's so bad.
Willow was so perfect.
She actually was when she was a little newborn.
So perfect. Like she had like this perfect head and like the perfect amount of fluff. She had like a little mullet already. She was like, she had the most hair of any of my kids. She had like hairy shoulders and hairy ears and shit. Like she was full Wagnerzini, you know. But she was so perfect. And I was like looking at her little button nose and like cute little lips, and she was sleeping, and she was like this little angel child, and was our angel child. And you know, 2 months down the track, 6 months down the track, everything, like she's hitting milestones like either before or on exactly.
And no fuss, wasn't she? Like she wasn't
fuss. She was like textbook baby. She never cried. We never let her cry either. She'd hurt herself and be like, oh my God, look at that flower over there. Look, there's a butterfly. Oh my God, here, have some boob. Like never cried. For multiple reasons. But she was such a cruisy kid. Yeah. And like, I mean, we tried doing her in a bassinet for the first few weeks, and I like nearly died because I'd like every time she woke up for a feed, I'd wake up, get her out, go out into the lounge. I'd have give her a feed, change her nappy, put her back into the bassinet, and then like go to sleep. And then I'd wake up, do that like 5 times a night. Not sustainable. Such fucking bullshit. But we didn't bring her into the bed because we're going to kill her. Like obviously she'll die of SIDS. So yeah, it was, big learning curve. I think it was at about 6 weeks postpartum when I was like walking down the street, and I'm like, if I just walked out in front of a car and just got hit a little bit, just so that I have like 3, a little bit. Just like, no, but I just need 3 days of sleeping and no responsibility. And if I just got injured enough that I could get 3 days of laying down, like I was that exhausted, and I'm like, oh, if I'm having these thoughts, like something's got to change.
Literally co-sleeping is the best.
A lifesaver. And like I had no idea about the benefits, like health benefits and like benefits to your connection and bonding and all of that stuff. But fuck, as soon as she was in the bed, we were both sleeping. Like everyone was sleeping, and we were just like, what? Like why weren't we doing this earlier? We're not going to roll over on our baby.
If people told you how to like safely co-sleep, or like, like don't be afraid of it. It's going to be so good. You're going to sleep. Your baby's going to be really happy. You're going to wake up minimal times, and it's just,
We got pamphlets of do not co-sleep with your baby. They will die of SIDS. And then like, don't put toys in their crib. Don't do it. I'm like how is any of this causing a baby to die? Anyway. Yeah. Yeah. So we were like, we are fucking nailing this parenting gig. We're awesome. Like I would hear other people's babies cry and be like, I don't know what they're doing to torture that kid. I'm like, oh, should we call child services? Like shit like that. Like seriously, I was such a dickhead.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So anyway, I was like, let's have a baby straight away. So we started.
So how old was Willow when you guys decided that you were going to start trying for another baby?
7 months old.
Oh my God.
She was a baby. She was like a teeny tiny baby. We're like, you're so big. And like, she was crawling and pulling herself up on furniture already. And like, she did all the things.
So how long did it take the same amount of time to get pregnant with Humphrey?
3 months.
Okay. So
I was 10 months.
All right. That's
postpartum and then pregnant. yeah, legit. So I was like, yeah, sweet. We fell pregnant again, and I was over the moon. And I think I was like 5 weeks pregnant. My mum, when it was my 28th birthday, and my mum and my dad, my brother came up for my birthday, and we celebrated, went to Byron and stayed a night down there. And my dad had been been feeling not so good. And I was like, I don't know. We didn't think too much of it. He and my brother had just come back from like Africa. They climbed Kilimanjaro really fast, and he was getting like stomach and back pain. And we're like, oh, he's probably got like a parasite. And then obviously like hurt himself doing this hike without any training, and like shit my dad used to do. And I was like, yeah, okay. So we were kind of still chugging along, and then my parents went back home that night.
Did they know that you were pregnant at this point?
No.
Okay.
That night that they went back home, my dad ended up in hospital. And then like regularly, but he'd get in there, they'd do some tests. He was having night sweats and pain at night. And that was like the reason for going in. And then they do some tests and couldn't find anything. They'd give him some probably morphine at the time. I don't know. They're giving him pain relief and sending him home. That went on for a few months, and it was escalating. And me and Toga were still working quite a bit. So we were down between Melbourne and the Gold Coast and taking Willow down. And yeah, it was getting worse and worse. And then my dad started losing weight, and he's not a very big guy to begin with. So that was a bit of a concern, but doctors just weren't finding. And then they started, telling him he had like neurogenic pain. Basically, they were telling him his pain was all in his head. And I'm like, no, this is like a guy who is like, he does not struggle with pain. Like he's not sick ever. So fucking find what's going on. Like I was like getting into the hospital. I was flying down to Melbourne like purely to go into hospital with him and be like, guys, you actually need to do some proper investigation. But they look at my dad. He's a tan guy. He's fit, eats really well, all the things. And they look at him and be like, you're fine. Like there's nothing wrong with you. So that kept going along. Come Christmas, it had gotten, just before Christmas actually, we were up, me and Willow were up on the Gold Coast and Toga was down in Melbourne.
How pregnant were you at this point?
About 17 weeks.
Okay. Did anyone know?
Yeah, they knew.
Okay, everyone knew.
Yeah. I think we told everyone at Willow's birthday. So it was about 9 weeks or something at Willow's birthday. And yeah, I was up here just alone with Willow, and Toga was working in Melbourne, and I got a call from Mum, and she was bawling her eyes out, and I was just like, oh shit, something's happened, because we still hadn't figured out what was happening with Dad. And I was like, please don't tell me he's died. Like she was fucking beside herself, and she finally got words out, and she's like, Sub has passed away, my dad's dad. And I was just like, and I feel awful for feeling this way, but I was just like fucking relieved, because I was like, oh my God, like it's not Dad. Fuck. Yeah. So we got on a flight because we're Jewish, and traditionally you bury your deceased within, I think it's 48 hours. So we got on a flight and went down. My dad was in hospital at this stage getting more tests. Like he'd been in for a few days with really bad pain, and we had to break him out of the hospital to get him to the funeral. And he I don't know how, but he got up and did this massive, beautiful speech which had everyone in tears. And then he nearly passed out because he was exhausted, and we had to take him back to the hospital after that. But then it was like a couple of weeks later, which was like he had come home, and it was the day after Christmas, Boxing Day, and he nearly died at home. Like he was just so sick, and they ended up ambulancing him into hospital, and the next day they're like, oh, he has cancer. We were just like, great.
Thank you for taking several months to let us know and figure it out. Yeah,
I know. Or just telling him it's all in his head for so long. Like really. So, yeah, and it was a quite advanced cancer by the time they found it, and an aggressive one and rare and with a really bad, like really high mortality rate in the first like 2 years or something. And but we were all pretty optimistic because my dad had a really healthy base.
Yeah.
Like now we know what it is. Great. We treat it.
He'll be fine.
He'll be fine. It wasn't that cut and dry. Didn't go down like that. So he had his first chemo, and that put him into ICU. He nearly died from it because it obliterated his gut, and he ended up with sepsis, like internalized. Yeah. And so he was just like, I can't do that again. Like the recovery from that was quite a bit, and he's like, I can't do that again. So we started looking at other options, and we went down that road, which anyone who has taken a loved one through cancer is
not easy.
It's not. It's really shit. Yeah.
So how pregnant? So you would have been like early, still like 4-ish months at this point.
About halfway. So
when you found out he had cancer.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I actually had my 20-week scan at the same hospital that he was at, so he could come to it. So he came to the 20-week scan and had a look, and we were all in there trying to guess if it was boy or girl. We actually found out, and yeah, it was something to celebrate. Little wins.
Yeah.
But yeah, it got to a point where my dad was just like the hospital can't offer me anything that I want.
Yeah.
And he's like, being in Melbourne, like it's like with the shitty weather and yeah, there was, it
wasn't helping him.
It wasn't helping him. So he was like, I want to move up to the Gold Coast. So he came up this way, and we were able to look after him. I guess I had time because I wasn't really working at that stage. Togga was covering. And so, yeah, between me, my sister and my auntie, we were just like, all right, we're on the Danny care
and
train.
so he was like doing more alternative treatments, is that right?
Yeah. So, and that's the path he wanted to go down, but he wasn't closed off to.
He was doing a bit of both.
Yeah. Yeah. So we would kind of see him do well and then not do well and then do well. And we're kind of, he would continue doing chemo treatments, but he was separating them out quite a bit. And we found a experimental, it was still experimental at the time, but it had really promising outcomes for his particular cancer.
Yeah.
So it was really targeted. So we were like getting that, but he was spreading out the treatment so that he could properly recover.
Yeah.
And then as soon as he'd have one of those treatments, we'd like go to the integrative medical center, and they would like pump him with the vitamin C IVs and like all of this stuff. And that would kind of like bring him back to life, which was amazing. Anyway, he was doing really well, and then he would not. And it was pretty hectic. And this whole time I'm like, we had also bought a house that we were renovating. Me and Tugga did a few things in like one hit. And for anyone who's interested, this was also in my Saturn return, so it's really fucking fun times.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So you were like, obviously this was kind of like something that was at the forefront of your mind constantly during pregnancy, and you weren't obviously being like, I'm going to separate myself from that and really focus on my beautiful pregnancy and my birth plan. But what was your birth plan kind of a similar outcome, or not outcome, like you were wanting the same thing that you did with Willow, or were you thinking I wouldn't mind doing something different, or I didn't like that, or? Yeah.
So obviously we did not want this baby taken away at any stage. Yeah. So I expressed towards the end, and I expressed a fuck ton of colostrum. I fed fucking hell. Sorry guys. I fed Willow throughout the entire pregnancy, so I had like heaps ample supply. Yeah. And then that turned into colostrum, I think maybe a month prior to Humphrey's arrival. But yeah, I was seeing an obstetrician. Like I wanted to see my obstetrician down in Melbourne because I was like, he was happy for me to
do what you want to
do. Yeah, exactly. But because of the situation, I ended up seeing an obstetrician on the Gold Coast who was not happy for me to do anything. And I remember going to those appointments when I had to go and he'd be like, in retrospect, I totally get where he was at, but at the time fucking shit me because I was dedicating all my time to researching for my dad and like looking after him, taking him to appointments. And I'd get to one of these obstetrician appointments and like my obstetrician was like, okay, so when are you actually going to look after you because you're pregnant and you're not looking after you and your baby? And I'd be like, fuck you, man. Like my body can just do this. Like I can like, you know, delegate the baby stuff to my body and I can just focus on my dad. Like in my head, I was just like, we've got one chance to get this guy well and I can't be wasting that shit on sinking into a pregnancy, like concentrating on a pregnancy when my body can just do that. Like I can just offload that. But I mean, meanwhile, poor Humphrey is just like stewing in this soup of anxiety and cortisol and stress and the ups and downs and zero sleep. And like, meanwhile, I'm still looking after Willow the whole time. Like, you know, there was a point where Togga was in Daydream Island for a wedding and we just moved into our very scantily renovated new house and sleeping on the floor with Willow pregnant and a hurricane or the cyclone hit. Yeah. And so Togga was trapped there for 5 days or something and I couldn't get hold of him. Like, yeah. So it was really stressful time. It's high stress. Pregnancy. Yeah. Lots of like flights are happening and stuff. But then, you know, when we'd have like good spots, my dad would come good and he'd like go for a stand-up paddleboard. And we're just like, okay. Like
you're good. You're going to be okay.
Yeah. We're going to be sweet. And like, I remember going on drives and just thinking about how, because he was quite a prominent businessman and he mentored quite a few people and I'm like, this is going to be his like book. Like he's going to write this book about how he conquered this and how he did it and like came to realize that the busy life isn't all that and like you need downtime and all this stuff. And so we were really in this mind space of like even every low he had, because he'd bounce back, we're like, we're good.
It's just a low.
Yeah. Like this shit doesn't come easy. We have to go through the tough stuff to get to the end. So that's where our heads were at the whole time. Anyway.
So then like how long, so like obviously you're approaching your birth. Was he like good and that you were?
He went downhill.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that happened that I won't go into because I feel like I'm going to, we're taking up time. But yeah, he went really downhill and ended up getting emergency flown back to the Gold Coast, to the hospital that I planned to have Humphrey. And I was 40-ish weeks pregnant and he decided to do another chemo. And like one of the things that we were really conscious about was chemo. Like I think they even say it in like the chemo pamphlets that they give the carers for chemo. It's like, don't share the same toilet because like it's really toxic and like and also a carcinogen. So you take it when you have to, but like you don't actually want to be around it. And because I was pregnant and I'm like, chemo targets fast growing cells. I've got a whole bunch of those. When my dad did chemo, I would like take a few days from seeing him, which was fine because like my sister would step in or mum would come up and step in or my auntie,
someone was always there.
Yeah. And yeah, so he had decided to do that again, but the hospital had decided to put him straight into palliative care and we didn't know that. I wasn't aware of that. I don't know if anyone was. And a couple of days later, I got a call and it was like, you need to come in and say your final farewells to your dad. And I was like, fuck this again. Because like also we'd been given, you know, he's got 2 weeks to live. He's got 3 months to live. He's going to make it to the year. Like, and it was just, everyone's just throwing out this shit. So at the end, like by the end of it, you're like, oh, don't fucking believe anything you say. Like you suck. No one's getting this right. So.
Okay, so you were like 40. Did you say you were like 40 something weeks pregnant?
41 weeks on the dot.
And being told to say goodbye.
Being told to say goodbye. Oh, and really quickly, the one thing that me and Togga did do for this pregnancy was go and do a hypnobirthing course, which we'd been suggested to do. And because I just hadn't really thought about it, my obstetrician was a bit of a prick, and he was like, you have to do this, this and this when you come in, which was like drips and all of these things. And I'm like, I'm not going to come in unless there's a baby like halfway out my vagina. You're not sticking needles in me. Like it's not happening. So yeah, we did this a hypnobirthing course because I was just like, I don't want to repeat that massive process that I had with Willow, which was beautiful. It was so good to do, and it was really good for Togga because like they just show you all these videos of these babies coming out, calm, and like no one, like it's completely hands off. Like there were 4 movies of completely hands off births where these women, like the babies just came out and no one needed to touch anything. They picked up their babies or got their babies out of the water or whatever it was, and it was fine. I was like, that's it. That's what I want. Anyway, so we'd done that. Cut back. Being told that I need to go say my final goodbyes, and I had an adrenaline rush, but at the same time I'm like to myself, fuck, they keep doing this, like fuck this, blah blah blah. And I get into the hospital and he was not okay. Like he wasn't good at all. And
I got you.
Oh dude.
It doesn't help that this is a highly emotional day, week, month. If you need to stop, we can.
2 like pregnant bitches
talking about pregnant shit and other stuff that's highly emotional.
Dead dads again.
Oh. So we can't say that without Ginty here.
Ginty, where are you? Yeah, and so went in and saw him, and I was just like I literally walked in and I was like, turned it to the nurse. And I'm like, the fuck have you done? Like, what have you done? Because he's never looked this bad before.
Yeah.
Oh, what a time. And I was just like, what is going on? And we'd been really on top of his medication, and I was doing lots of research every time they were giving him another medication. I'd like risks, benefits, side effects, why we needed it. Like it was a real education session. And I was like, okay, you guys did the chemo. Like, did you give him the bicarb soda pills, which like offsets the acidity of mass breakdown of cells and like, no, they hadn't given him any of the counter stuff. So they just put his body under all this stress. And then I look at him and he's got a fentanyl patch on his arm and he's got a morphine drip in his leg. And he couldn't move, and it was like, it was really shit. My dad's a really powerful man, and yeah, it seemed like that was
not good.
It's a shit time. So, I being 41 weeks pregnant, and if this is an indication of how emotional I get when I'm pregnant, I lost it. Like Fire Dragon came out and I was like, you don't even know what the fuck you're doing. How could you do this? Do you even like what is your fucking job? Like I'm not bringing my bloody dad into the hospital for you to kill him. He doesn't need help. He can we're all going to fucking die no matter what. Like no one needs help dying. Like he's here because he wants to live.
Yeah.
And so like that day, so God, it would have been like midday I got called in, and Togga's mum had come up to help us with Willow at that stage because I was obviously close to giving birth at some stage. And so she was looking after Willow, and Togga came in and I was calling meetings with like ICU, his fucking hematologist, who was just the biggest prick. It's like the one person that I can't remember what he looks like. So if you're out there, you're lucky, because I was like, if I ever see him and I'm in my car, I will hit you. Like I will not put the brakes on. But yeah, it was like I had a nurse tell me that I just couldn't handle death and like all of this stuff. And I'm like, bitch, I am 41 weeks pregnant. That's my dad. That's not all I've ever known. Like, how can you say that to a person? Like the bedside manner. Anyway, they kept asking him, or like they just kept giving him morphine. And I'm like, he doesn't want morphine. Like he doesn't want more pain relief, because it is putting more pressure on his body. Like what can we actually do to get him out of this position?
They just don't know, right?
But they'd given up. Yeah. They were like, no, we're just helping him die now. Like it's not. Yeah. And then, we called a meeting with the ICU guy, and he was just like, look, we can put him on the things. Because I was like, they're like, oh, he's got fluid on his lungs. I'm like, great, drain it. Like there's a thing that we can do for all of these. And like I had a history of working in hospitals and in ICU. So I knew everything they could do to counter whatever was going on. And they're like, look, we can put him on machines, but then you guys are going to have to decide when you take him off. And I looked at my mum, and she was like, I can't do that. Like, and anyway. Yeah. So that was it. That was it. And I was just like, what the fuck? And so at that stage, I think I just like, I went numb to it. And I mean, we were in hospital from, midday. I think about like 6 or 7 o'clock. I'm like, well, if this is it, we need to get him out of the hospital. Can't die in a hospital. Like this man, this like great man cannot die in a hospital. We need to get him out. And I'm speaking like his best friend had flown up at that stage. He like his sister and brother-in-law were up, and like everyone had started flying up from Melbourne. And I'm like, how do we do this? Like, I will fucking throw him over my back.
My 41-week pregnant back.
Put him in the car. We can like get a fire going down at Tally Creek and like, something. And everyone just kind of looked at me really helplessly. Like no one. Yeah. Like they would just kind of like stop. Keshia. Yeah. Stop. And and I think at that stage I was just like, that's like, is that it? Like that's it. We've like been just countering everything up until this stage, and now it's just stop. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. We were there until about 10 p.m. and I started getting really bad migraine, and I was just like, oh fuck, I'm gonna be vomiting. I'm 41 weeks pregnant. I'm gonna be vomiting and sick, and I feel like shit. And I just turned to Togger and I was like, we need to go home. I need to go home. And he's like, okay. So we get home. I literally just sat down on the couch. I hadn't eaten all day, BT dubs. Wasn't a day for eating. But I just sat on the couch and like put a blanket over my head, and because like I was feeling light sensitive and all the things. And I was on the couch for about an hour, and then my waters broke. And I was just like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. And I still had that adrenaline rush, like that weird adrenaline rush. But I was just like I don't know, in disbelief. Like the fuck. Yeah. Like
how? I can't do this right now.
Right now, like of all the times. And I was just like, but at the same time, like I had a bit of hope too. I was like, oh, if this can happen, like fuck, what can't happen, you know? Anyway, so my waters broke and Togo was in bed with Willow, and I just walked in there and I'm like, hey, look, this is going to be a while, but my waters just broke. And he was like, okay, I'm going to try and get as much shut eye as possible. I was like, yeah. We'd had a big day. So anyway, I decided to pack a hospital bag. And I called my brother actually, and I was just like, hey, Zach, I don't know, like this could be a little while and I don't want you to tell everyone, but can you just go and let Dad know that my waters are broken and like baby's on the way, so he's got to hang around for a bit. And I wasn't actually this emotional at the time, so yeah. And I'm like, but please don't let anyone else know. And he was like, yeah, okay, cool. Or like, I'll let you know when we head into the hospital. Anyway, I got my hypnobirthing tracks on and I went up into the bathroom and I was like, as soon as my waters broke, I was actually getting like that period pain, and it was really consistent, in a contraction pattern. And I didn't look at any clocks. Like I was thinking all my hypnobirthing stuff. I'm like, do not look at the time. Do not like don't measure or judge anything. So I just went into the bathroom after I'd packed a bag and got the bounce ball in there and jumped in the shower and jumped in the bath and one of those too much information things, but I was doing so many poos, and I did mention this in the last recording. Yeah, but like every contraction afterwards, I was like, oh, I need to go to the toilet, and I was like proper like human size. Like, and I just could not believe the amount of shit that was coming out of me. I was just like, oh my God, this is insane.
Just fully empty.
Just like completely empty my whole body. But I reckon I went to the toilet like 8 times. So 11:30 at night, my waters broke. My mother-in-law is asleep in the bedroom next to the bathroom I'm labouring in. And I'm just like playing, like I think I had candles lit. No, I didn't have candles lit. I had a salt lamp. But I was like, I had heaps of clary sage and lavender going, like really strong. And I was like, yeah, okay, like doing all the moves, getting in the water, trying to relax as much as possible, like just switching into labor mode. I'm like, oh, like I've got a fucking task to do right now in amongst my whole world coming to pieces. And I was in the bath and they were getting pretty strong, the contractions, and I remember leaning forward and I felt this pinch in my back, and it wasn't bad, but it just shot me back to Willow's birth, and I'm like, this gets really bad. And I was just like, I can't do this. I know that this is going to get really hectic. I don't have it to do this. I'm like, I'm just going to have to go to the hospital and get this baby cut out. Like, there's no way I can do this. Anyway, I went to get up out of the bath and had another contraction, and I was just like, oh shit. I'm like, I'm not going to be able to get down the stairs to get Togger. Like, he's in bed, and I'm like, there's no way I can get down the stairs. So I went into my mother-in-law's room and I was just like, Helen, and I'm like naked. I'm like, Helen. She's like, yeah. I'm like, can you please go and get Togger because I can't get him. And she's like, oh, are you in labour? And I was like, mate, yeah. My mother-in-law is like the sweetest human ever, like non-confrontational at all and very easygoing. And I was just like, yeah, can you please get him? She's like, oh, yep, I'll go get him. And so she goes downstairs and Togger comes up and I'm like, I think we're going to have to go to the hospital soon. And then I felt like another contraction. They were like really close, and I was just like, oh God, like, yeah, I'm not going to be able to handle a car ride in a sec. I'm like, okay, I need to go to the toilet. I think he was in the room with me for about 10 minutes, and I was like, I need to go to the toilet. And so I kicked him out and I go sit down on the toilet and I'm like, oh, like it full bearing down, pushing. And I was just like, it's not a poo. And like Togger came rushing in and he was just like, he's like, Keshia, I can see a head. Like he looks into the toilet and he's like, Keshia, I can see a head. And I was just like, oh. And so he ran back downstairs. His mum had come upstairs at that stage. And he ran downstairs to get his phone and call the ambulance. And then I had a full ejection reflex. He had the ambulance on the phone and they're like, can you get her to lay down? And they're like, he's like, Keshia, can you lay down? I'm like, I can't fucking lay down. I'm not moving. And they're like, you need to get her off the toilet because the baby will fall into the toilet. And he was just like, can we get you off the toilet? I'm like, no. But he's like pulling me up off the toilet. So like, if you can imagine sitting on the toilet and I couldn't move, like I couldn't move my knees, I couldn't move my hips. So like he had to like leverage me up off the toilet. My legs are still bent. I had one hand on like our basin and then one hand on the very unstable exercise ball. And he's trying to shift me forward so he can get behind me, like between the toilet and me. And Humphrey's head was out at this stage. Yeah. So, and we're over tiles and the ambulance was like, do not let that baby drop on the floor. Like, we've got an ambulance 10 minutes away. He's like, do not let that baby like fall on the tiles. And I was like, obviously oblivious to everything else happening. And then all of a sudden, like, another contraction came over me and he came out. Like, it was head. And then as soon as his shoulders were out, he's like, he came out.
Flew out.
Yeah. It's somewhere between there. I had Helen, like, I remember her hands on my shoulders, and it felt like she was putting the pressure of the world on my shoulders. And she must have only been resting her hand. She was like, it's going to be okay. And I was just like, get the fuck off me, Helen. Like, it was like, so
God,
it just
poor woman.
felt, poor. Like, she's like, I never want to do that again. She did
She's
not want
never
to
touched her shoulders ever again.
But she was not, she's not a happy birthing, but like she's like, I do not, like
I never want to say that again.
Did not want to be in that situation. And anyway, and then Humphrey came out and Togga went to pass him around my side, and I was like, no, between my legs, and like, so football passed him through.
Like, I'm trying to do it around. Umbilical cords is like not 7 meters long.
This is not okay. And so he passed him through, and then I was just standing there like with this baby. It had been like,
for how long? Like, so like, what
it's
time
about
was that?
3 hours. It was about 3 hours long. So I think it was about 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And then Togga went and got some pillows for me so I could sit down. I was like sitting down on towels and in the bathroom, and he got some pillows for me to rest back on. And I was just like
what just happened?
Like, yeah, like, what the fuck?
And I accidentally had my baby at home. Or not accidentally.
Yeah. Look, I had very little intention of going into the hospital, but because of everything that had happened around that time.
Total mess. Like,
yeah, and we didn't, like, I
probably
guess
wasn't
there wasn't much of a plan.
Recipe for having a,
I know.
beautiful for home birth or free birth or, bloody anything.
We didn't, there wasn't much of a plan there. So, yeah, I mean, I was at the hospital I was meant to give birth at all day. And then I got a headache, went home for a few hours and came back to the hospital that I was meant to give birth at with a baby.
Okay, so after you had Humphrey, obviously the ambulance would have been like...
They came in
super fast after, like it would have been within minutes of birthing Humphrey that they were there.
Yeah. Yep. So they came in and we had a really chill crew. Like they came in, they did like, I think a quick APGAR score, but they never touched him. And then they were like, they're like, you guys are good. They're like, we'll just go downstairs. They asked me if I wanted like the pit shot in my leg to deliver the placenta, and I said no.
Yeah.
I had that with Willow. It's the only thing I'd had, so I didn't want that again. And and they were like, when you're ready to go in, we'll go in. And so they just chilled downstairs for a bit. They like, Humphrey was alert and chill and feeding. I asked them to check his blood glucose because I was like, hey, this was a thing. And his blood glucose was pretty chill. So there was no rush to do anything. And then, after I birthed the placenta, we Togga cut the cord and then we started heading downstairs and onto the little ambulance thingy, and they chucked me in the ambulance and we went back to the hospital.
Oh my God.
I know. And I was expecting like a 7-hour labour because Willow's
that's
had been 22.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, it'll be at least 7 to 12 hours. Like, a
little bit shorter maybe, but like.
Yeah.
But not 3 hours.
But not 3. But yeah, I was just like, it was pretty unbelievable actually. We got to the hospital and I was like, hey, my dad's dying upstairs. Do you mind if I go up? We can meet my baby that I just pushed out. Even saying it now seems just fucking ridiculous. Like, I just pushed out a baby and my dad's dying upstairs. Do you mind if I just like go and the nurses were pretty chill. Actually, so when we got into the hospital, they did a quick look over Humphrey and he was just like, we were just skin to skin. It was sick. And then my obstetrician came in, I think it was 6 o'clock in the morning. And he was like completely frazzled. He was in tracksuit pants. His hair was unbrushed. Like he was just like a mess. And he came in and he goes, "Did you do that on purpose?" Like that was the first words that came out of his mouth. And I was just like, "No." And then he goes, "Okay, well, let me see if you tore." And I was like,
"No, thanks."
Okay. Like, dude, I was not in like the fighting spirit. So spread my legs. He was like, no tears. And he walked out and I didn't see him again. Like, yeah.
I wonder why we don't like obstetricians that much. I mean, not all, but a lot of them. Why are they like that? Like, why?
It's so weird. Anyway. And so that was all fine. They'd been like looking over me and Humphrey for a bit. He did a meconium all over me. It was great. And then they were like, "Look, you can go up, but you have to put him in the little trolley thing. Because like if you pass out and we're not with you, like you're going to another floor." And they're obviously dealing with shit up there too. So anyway, so got him in the little tray, pushed my baby in the tray up to level 6. And
Togger was like obviously with you, right?
I think he was at that stage. He didn't come in the ambulance.
Yeah.
But I think he was with me at that stage. And we went into my dad's room and I don't think any of them had realised that I'd had a baby. So I just like walked in with the baby and my mum was in there and my sister was in there. And
oh wait, you haven't told
I hadn't told
anybody?
No one. I don't think anyone knew.
Well, it would have happened so quickly, right?
Yeah.
You just left, had a baby, come back.
I didn't have my phone with me.
Yeah, you never do, right?
Yeah. And so I just walked in with a baby and like the fuck? Yeah. And like they had obviously been with my dad, I think all night. I've not even asked. I don't know. But like I think they were. It was 6 o'clock in the morning. And so, I walked in with a baby and my mum just like burst into tears. And my dad that hadn't moved in like the whole time, like threw his arm out and around me. And like, it was really, it was really like at the time, I think I was a bit numbed out and like, what the fuck is happening? Like, what is happening? But when I look back on it, it's really special. Like, I'm really glad we got that. And so I was in there for a bit and then I started feeling a bit tired.
I don't know why.
No. So we went back down to the like allocated room or whatever. Yeah. And I just was in bed with Humphrey, and because all my family was up saying their goodbyes to my dad, they were coming into the room and meeting Humphrey and then I think at lunchtime we went back up and like Humphrey got to hang with my dad for a bit, like lay on his chest and stuff. And it was like, it was cool. It was cool. It wasn't cool. It was fucked. No. It was so fucked. It's really fucked. But like, so then that happened and like we were there maybe for a couple of hours and then I went back downstairs and 7:15, I don't know, we were in the bedroom or the room and it was just me and Togger and Humphrey and I felt it. It was like 7:15 and I just felt like someone had shot a cannon through my chest and I was like, fuck, like it's happened. And a few minutes later, my sister and my mum came down. They're like, we want to let you know. And I was like, you don't need to. It's fine. Go away. I can't. I don't want to know. They're like, do you want to come up? And I'm like, no, I don't want to go up. And then Humphrey went from this peaceful little baby and then he's like, I just watched like him go from this relaxed body to like his shoulders just like went up to his ears and his knees went up to his belly and he screamed that whole night. And then with like, an hour break here or there for the next 4 months, it was so full on. But that's how we got introduced to aware parenting.
Well, you're so lucky you did because obviously many years later we can look at that and have a complete awareness and understanding of why your baby screamed for 4 months.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, without that type of understanding, you would just think, my baby has colic. Maybe it's got a stomach problem. Maybe it needs medicating.
But that's what we had at the start. I was like, oh, it must be colic. It must be silent reflux. It must be blah, 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 blah. For like, it was at 2 weeks that he had been crying. And we were like, oh my God, what's going on? And then I was like, it's not like, and I felt like such an idiot when I was saying it, but I'm like, he's fucking grieving. I'm like, he's grieving. Like, this was the shittest. And like, he's grieving. And then when we were actually going to our regular Sunday market hangout, and it was one of the ladies that owned the nut stall, and she was like, she'd come over and like see Humphrey just screaming. And because we still went out and did shit. Yeah. We needed to like distract ourselves. And she's like, hey, I think I know something that can really help you. And she was studying to be like an aware parenting coach. And she's like, yeah, I'd love to do a session with you if you're open to it. And I'm like, at this stage I'm open to anything. So yeah. And then what she described to me, and she lent me her book, and I was just like, this is fucking it. And so much of it was just like, why didn't I know this when Dad was going through his shit? Like, just all of the, like, if we're suppressing our emotions, like how that can affect our health and all of this stuff. So anyway, we got onto that, and I listened to a lot of Lael Stone and Marion Rose, and yeah, that kind of sent us on the trajectory of like looking at emotion and emotional health, and what the links to our physical health. So it was a very big time.
What a journey.
It was a journey.
So Humphrey and your dad share the same day then?
Yeah.
Birth and death day.
Yeah. Yeah. On the death certificate and birth certificate, same day. Fucking wild.
So how do you guys, like, how are birthdays for Humphrey?
We celebrate Humphrey.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was really hard his first birthday.
Yeah.
Because it's tough because like it was like this magical thing. Like to go through a birth like that after the first birth I'd had, and it was just so easy. Like, it was hard because of the circumstances, but it was such an easy birth, and it was so beautiful. And like to get that, like in amongst everything that was going on, it was such a gift.
Yeah.
So, but there's some really weird, and I've told you, like, there's some really weird stuff in there as well. Because like Humphrey, so my dad flew planes and was plane and motorbike obsessed, but Humphrey is like hell bent on being a pilot. And like I was really, you know, like my dad's he was very successful, and he was just, I couldn't sing more praise for the man. But I'm like, they're big shoes to fill. And for my little boy to be born on that day, like I don't want any of that pressure on him. I think like a lot of people thought I was going to name Humphrey after my dad. And I'm like, no, like I can't put that kind of, he's going to live his own life. He's carving his own path. And so we didn't want to push anything onto him. So it was, you know, the things that my dad liked, it wasn't like, you know.
You should like this. Yeah.
He wants to be a pilot. Like he is hell-bent on being a pilot. In our like family formation, so my dad had an older sister, and then him, and then his brother, and then a younger sister. And like
Humphrey's the same. And
obviously that's going to change now, but like
it'll still be the same with an addition.
Yeah. And it's just like some really weird fucking.
So how old was Humphrey then? Like when was he born in relation to, or how many hours old was Humphrey when your dad left?
So Humphrey was born, I think around 3 o'clock, like maybe 3:24, I think we think.
Yeah. Yeah. And then your dad passed at 7:15 that night. So it was like 5 hours old, if that.
No.
Or 5 hours old?
No. Nearly 20.
Oh.
Yeah. So he's 7 that night. So Humphrey was born in the morning. My dad was born that night.
Okay, so 12. Oh, God.
No.
I think there's something wrong with me.
We're both pregnant.
Okay, but like if you had have had a birth like Willow's, a labour like Willow's, you would have missed it then?
Yeah.
They would have, you would have been like in the birthing portal while your dad was. It's crazy that your body was like, here's a 3-hour labour and birth.
Yeah.
And this is what's going to happen really soon after that. It's like.
It was so, and I look back on it too. And even in like the months following, I was just like, if it had have gone any
other way,
like if Humphrey was born a week early, like, I don't know.
How would you have coped with a week-old baby
and
a screaming baby at that, plus that?
Yeah, plus my dad passing away. Like I wouldn't have been able to be in the room with him and spend that time with him because I would have had a scream, and if it was any later, I would not have had I went into a real depression afterwards. Yeah, like the following
months, which
is
when I met you.
Yeah. When I shaved my head and all that jazz. So it was a big time. Like me and Togga kind of fell apart after that too. Like we went from being like this organized team and like delegating to each other and like having this like all these plans set out and we're working to this schedule and we had this goal and drive to like that was all gone. And I just personally, I was like working to life and like creating life in me. And then I just like after Humphrey was born, I was just like, I'm empty. Like my purpose is gone, and which is fucking awful because I had a fucking baby. But it was really shaking. And I was like, if my dad died first and then I went into like I wouldn't have. There's no way I would have been able to have a baby. Like I was done. I was so cooked. So, the timing was very divine timing. But
what a story!
What a story! We've taken up everyone's time, a lot of it.
Yeah, but I did do a wee between that.
Oh yeah, we'll cut that out.
Oh well, thank you for sharing because that's a big one.
That was a big one. God, I was a lot more emotional than the first time I said it.
Yeah, but you're also pregnant, and we're also in like we're in the trenches a bit.
We're in the trenches.
But I feel like that was a story that needed to be told.
Yeah.
Accidental home births.
Accidental free births.
Accidental free births. Accidental.
And we'll go into the 2 very intentional free births.
Yes. Well, love you.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
Thanks for listening.
And
if you lasted this long, if you lasted this long, well done. Another emotional one for the books.
Yeah. All right.
I'm still going to be nervous about releasing it.
Yeah, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. All right. Signing off.
See you, people.
Thanks for tuning in to the Road to Wisdom podcast. To join the journey, you can follow us on Instagram at theroadtowisdom.podcast and at www.theroadtowisdompodcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. We look forward to seeing you next week with more juicy content.